The sleek royal cruiser cut through the starry void, its crystalline hull reflecting the light of distant suns. Queen Nera stood at the massive viewport, her tall, slender form casting a long shadow across the polished deck. Her exoskeleton shimmered with iridescent blues and purples that shifted with each movement, a mark of her royal bloodline among the Valerian species. "Your Majesty," came a voice from behind her. Commander Tayla approached with a precise military gait, her own exoskeleton bearing the battle scars of countless campaigns. "Our sensors have detected an unknown vessel entering the outer defense perimeter." Nera's antennae twitched slightly, the only indication of her interest. "Origin: unknown, Your Majesty. It bears no markings we recognize." Tayla's mandibles clicked nervously. "However, based on their communication signals, we believe it may be human." Nera turned fully now, her forearms crossing in a posture of contemplation. Humans, the newest species to achieve faster-than-light travel. Stories had spread across the galactic arm about these soft-skinned creatures from a watery world. They lacked natural armor, possessed no claws or fangs, and had embarrassingly simple sensory organs. Yet somehow, they had expanded rapidly, establishing colonies and trade routes with surprising efficiency. "Bring the ship to alert status," Nera commanded, "but do not power weapons yet." The human vessel was small compared to the royal cruiser, its design efficient rather than elegant. As it approached, Communications Officer Minna relayed an incoming transmission. "They request permission to approach and establish diplomatic contact, Your Majesty." "Granted," Nera said. "I will meet them myself." This decision sent ripples of surprise through the command crew. The Queen rarely bothered with first contact scenarios, especially with species deemed physically inferior. Hours later, in the grand reception hall of the cruiser, Nera sat upon her elevated throne. The metallic walls were adorned with the banners of conquered worlds and the preserved weapons of defeated enemies. 4 elite guards flanked her, their battle armor polished to a mirror shine for the occasion. The doors slid open. A small delegation of humans entered, led by a male of average height for their species. He walked with confidence that bordered on insolence, his eyes scanning the room with obvious curiosity, rather than the fear or awe Nera expected. "Queen Nera of the Valerian Empire," the human announced in a clear voice. "I am Captain June of Earth's Diplomatic Corps. I bring greetings and an offer of peaceful relations between our peoples." Nera studied him with all 4 of her eyes. His skin was a warm brown tone, lacking the protective kitten she associated with evolved species. His face displayed expressions openly, another weakness in her estimation. Yet something about his direct gaze caught her attention. "You stand before me without trembling, human," Nera said, her translator converting her clicks and whistles into sounds the human could understand. "Either you are foolish or you do not understand who I am." The human named June smiled slightly. "I understand you are the ruler of 12 star systems, victor of the Battle of Corvix Nebula, and the only Valerian queen in 8 generations to personally lead troops into combat. I respect your accomplishments, Your Majesty." Nera's inner eyelids blinked in surprise. The human had done his research, and yet you show no fear. "Where I come from, respect and fear are different things," June replied. "I hope to establish the former between our peoples." This was new. Most species approached the Valerians with carefully disguised terror. Their empire had expanded through conquest for centuries. Nera leaned forward, genuinely intrigued for the first time in years. "Tell me why we should not simply conquer your worlds, human. What do you offer that we cannot take?" June's expression didn't change. "According to our intelligence, your empire has been at war with the Makorian Collective for 23 years without significant territorial gains. We offer an alliance that could tip that balance." The guards shifted uneasily. The human spoke of classified information with casual ease. "And what would humans provide in such an alliance?" "Your bodies are soft, your ships few." June reached into a pocket, prompting the guards to raise their weapons. He slowly withdrew a small device, and held it up. "With your permission." Nera nodded, curious despite herself. The device projected a hologram showing technical schematics. "This is a new shield harmonizer our engineers developed. It can adapt to energy weapons at frequencies your ships currently struggle against. We're willing to share this technology as a show of good faith." The Royal Tech Advisor stepped forward, eyes widening as she examined the designs. "Your Majesty, if this works as shown, it would increase our fleet's survivability by 60% against Makorian plasma cannons." Nera felt a flutter of genuine surprise. This was unexpected. "You would give us a military advantage for nothing in return." "Not for nothing," Jun said. "For the beginning of a relationship that benefits us both. We're a young, spacefaring species, but we learn quickly and innovate constantly. What we lack in natural armor, we make up for in adaptability." For the first time in decades, Queen Nera felt the thrill of meeting an unexpected challenge. This human spoke not as a supplicant, but as an equal, something no male of any species had dared in her presence. "You are either very brave or very foolish, Captain Jun," she said finally. "Return to your ship. We will consider your offer and contact you within one rotation of this vessel." As the humans departed, Commander Taylor approached the throne. "Your Majesty, shall I prepare rejection protocols?" Nera watched the door where the human had exited, her mind racing with possibilities. "No, arrange quarters for the human delegation. I wish to continue these discussions, personally." For the first time in years, something had disrupted the Queen's carefully controlled existence. This human, this Captain Jun, represented something new. Not a threat to be eliminated or a weakling to be dominated, but a puzzle to be solved. And Queen Nera had always enjoyed puzzles. 3 weeks had passed since the humans arrived, and the royal palace buzzed with gossip. Queen Nera had spent more time with the human ambassador than with her own council. Today marked the traditional Feast of Hunters, where Valerian nobility proved their worth through ritual hunting in the royal preserves. Captain Jun stood at the edge of the assembled hunters, looking small and fragile next to the towering Valerian warriors. His simple black uniform lacked the ceremonial armor and trophy teeth that adorned the others. Many nobles clicked their mandibles in amusement at the sight. "The human thinks he can hunt with us," sneered War Minister Dako, his scared exoskeleton gleaming in the orange morning light. "Perhaps he will become prey instead." Queen Nera approached, her royal hunting gear making her even more imposing. 4 ceremonial blades hung from her belt, and her antennae were adorned with precious metals that chimed softly with each step. "Captain Jun will hunt as my special guest," she announced. "Any harm that comes to him will be considered an attack on the crown." Dako's antennae flattened against his head in submission, but his eyes revealed his anger. The hunting party moved into the dense purple forests that surrounded the palace grounds. The target was the elusive shadow stalker, a 6-legged predator known for its intelligence and speed. Capturing one alive was considered the ultimate test of hunting skill. Jun kept pace with the group despite his shorter legs. Queen Nera found herself watching him with growing curiosity. While the Valerian hunters spread out with their traditional shock spears, Jun moved differently. He studied the ground, collected small plants, and seemed more interested in the forest itself than the hunt. "You waste time, human," she said, approaching him. "The stalkers will not wait for you to admire the scenery." Jun smiled. "I'm not admiring, I'm learning. These plants show teeth marks from your prey. They've moved through here recently." He pointed to a slight depression in the soil. "And this looks like a game trail." Nera's inner eyelids blinked rapidly in surprise. Most visiting dignitaries would be showing off their strength and speed, not quietly observing the environment. "You hunt differently than Valerians," she observed. "Humans evolved as persistence hunters," Jun explained, carefully cutting a piece of bark from a tree. "We lacked claws and strength, so we learned to track, to understand our prey, and to outlast them." The hunt continued through the day. Several nobles returned with lesser creatures, but no one had spotted a shadow stalker. The twin suns began to set, casting deep red light through the forest canopy. Suddenly, War Minister Dako gave a victory cry. I found fresh tracks. The Shadow Stalker is mine. The hunting party converged on his location, where clear six-toed prints marked a muddy streambed. Dako led the charge, following the tracks deeper into the forest, with other nobles close behind. June stayed behind, examining the prints carefully. Your Majesty, he called to Nara, who had been watching him. These tracks are too perfect. What do you mean? They're all the same depth, even though the ground changes, and there's no variation in stride length. He looked up at her. On Earth, we call this a false trail. Nara's antennae quivered with interest. Explain. I think these prints were made deliberately to lure hunters away from the actual stalker. A distant shout confirmed his theory. War Minister Dako and the others had stumbled into a natural pit filled with stinging nettles, a common trap set by shadow stalkers to disable rivals. They'll be in pain, but not danger, Nara said, her mandibles clicking with amusement. But the hunt is nearly over, and we have no prey. Jun gestured to the items he had collected throughout the day. I might have an idea, if you're willing to try something different. As darkness fell, Jun had created a small clearing with an unusual arrangement. The bark he had collected was burning slowly, releasing a sweet smoke. Several plants were arranged in a pattern, and a shallow pit had been dug and filled with water collected from various streams. Shadow stalkers are territorial, he explained quietly as he and Nara waited in hiding. This mimics the scent markers of an injured rival entering their territory to drink. If I read the signs correctly, one should investigate. Nara was skeptical, but intrigued. No Valerian hunts this way. Sometimes strength isn't about the loudest approach, Jun whispered. Sometimes it's about understanding what motivates your target. They waited in silence. An hour passed, then another. Nara was about to declare the hunt over when soft footfalls approached the clearing. A magnificent shadow stalker emerged from the undergrowth, its 6 limbs moving with predatory grace as it cautiously approached the water. Nara prepared to leap with her capture net, but Jun gently touched her arm, a boldness that would have cost any Valerian their hand. Wait, he whispered. Let it drink first. The shadow stalker bent to the water. As it did, Jun activated a small device. A subtle vibration rippled through the ground, causing the stalker to freeze in confusion. In that moment, Nara cast her net with perfect accuracy, capturing the creature before it could react. Later, as they returned to the palace with their prize, the other hunters watched in disbelief. Queen Nara had succeeded where all others had failed, with the help of the human's strange methods. You hunt like no male I have ever known, she told Jun as they walked ahead of the group. Is that a compliment? He asked. I am. Uncertain, Nara admitted, but it is interesting. That evening at the feast, High Commander Kodo approached the Queen's throne as she watched Jun conversing with several curious nobles. Your Majesty, Kodo said quietly, the mating season approaches. The council grows concerned about succession matters. Nara's eyes narrowed. I have rejected every candidate presented to me for 3 cycles. The bloodline must continue, Kodo insisted. Perhaps War Minister Dako would. Dako couldn't outsmart a shadow stalker, Nara interrupted. I will not mate with a male who cannot match me in mind, as well as strength. Her gaze drifted back to Jun, who was now sketching something on a datapad that had her chief scientist's antennae twitching with excitement. Today's hunt has reminded me of something important, Kodo, she said. There are different kinds of strength in this universe, and I have yet to see all of them. Queen Nara burst into the war room, her iridescent exoskeleton reflecting the red emergency lights. The 4 generals already present immediately stood at attention, mandibles clicking nervously as she approached the central holographic display. Report, she commanded, all 4 of her arms moving to activate additional data screens. General Tavo stepped forward. 3 border outposts have been attacked simultaneously. Your Majesty. Makorian warships. No warning. The holographic display showed the burning remains of Valerian defense stations. Nara's antennae twitched with barely controlled rage. Casualties. Minimal. Most were automated stations, Tavo replied. But our intelligence suggests this is only the first wave. They appear to be moving toward the Orion sector. The human colony, Nara said quietly. The door slid open, and Captain June entered, escorted by 2 royal guards. In the 3 months since his arrival, he had earned limited access to certain areas of the palace, but the war room was typically forbidden to off-worlders. I came as soon as I received your message, he said, nodding respectfully to the Queen. Nara gestured to the holographic display. Your people are in danger. The Makorian Collective has launched attacks against our border stations and appears to be moving toward your colony on New Terra. June studied the tactical display with narrowed eyes. How much time do we have? At their current speed, they will reach New Terra in approximately 30 hours. General Tavo answered, mandibles clicking with disapproval at sharing tactical information with an outsider. June's face showed no fear, only concentration. What forces can we deploy? We, General Mila hissed. This is a Valerian military matter. The humans are under our protection by provisional treaty, Nara reminded her. She turned to the tactical officer. Display our current fleet positions. The hologram shifted to show the spread of Valerian warships across 12 star systems. Most were clustered around the homeworld and core planets. Our outer defense fleets are stretched thin monitoring the Zoldar migration, General Tavo explained. We can redirect the 3rd battle group, but they would arrive hours after the Makorians reach New Terra. June studied the display with growing concern. Then he did something that shocked every Valerian in the room. He reached into the hologram and began moving fleet markers. Stop him, General Mila shouted. Wait, Nara commanded, raising one hand. Let him speak. June continued adjusting the holographic ships. Your defensive positions are scattered too thin. If we consolidate your fleets here and here, he moved several markers, we can create a trap. Nara stepped closer, her tall form looming over the human. You suggest I abandon my outer territories. Leave them defenseless. Temporarily, June replied, unflinching despite her proximity. The Makorians expect you to rush to defend New Terra directly. Instead, we let them commit their forces, then catch them from multiple vectors. Nara slammed one clawed hand on the tactical table, sending sparks flying from the impact. This strategy leaves both your colony and 3 of my outposts exposed for nearly 12 hours. The generals backed away, knowing the Queen's infamous temper. No one challenged her military decisions. No one. But June didn't back down. Sometimes you must appear weak to reveal your enemy's weakness, he said calmly. The Makorians want you to respond predictably. Don't. No male has ever challenged my battle strategy, she said, leaning close enough that her mandibles nearly brushed his face. Her voice dropped to a dangerous whisper, not in my entire reign. Then perhaps that's why you've never found a permanent solution to the Makorian threat, June replied quietly. The room fell silent. The generals froze, expecting the Queen to strike the human down where he stood. Instead, something unexpected happened. Queen Nara laughed, a clicking, chittering sound rarely heard in the war room. You have courage, Captain June, she said, straightening to her full height. But courage without wisdom is merely recklessness. She studied the adjusted tactical display for a long moment. Explain your full strategy. For the next hour, June detailed a complex plan combining Valerian military might with human tactical flexibility. He suggested using minimal forces to evacuate critical personnel from New Terra, while setting up automated distress signals to make the colony appear fully populated. The Makorians will commit their main fleet, believing they're attacking a valuable target, June explained. That's when we spring the trap with forces from these 3 positions. General Tavo reluctantly nodded. It could work, but it requires precise timing. And it places your own people at risk, Nera observed, watching June closely. You would sacrifice some of your own kind for this strategy. June's expression grew serious. I've already contacted my government. Our essential personnel began evacuation procedures an hour ago. Those who remain are volunteering to maintain the illusion until the last possible moment. Nera's antennae twitched in surprise. You proceeded without my approval. I made preliminary arrangements, June corrected. The final decision is yours, Your Majesty. But in battle, moments matter. Another silence fell across the war room as Queen Nera considered. Finally, she straightened and issued commands in rapid succession. Deploy as Captain June has suggested. General Tavo, coordinate with the human evacuation ships. General Mila, position our cloaked scouts to monitor Makorian movements. We strike when they fully commit to the new Terra attack. 3 days later, Queen Nera stood in the same war room, but the mood was entirely different. The holographic display showed the remnants of the Makorian fleet in full retreat, pursued by Valyrian warships. Their losses are estimated at 60% of their attack force, General Tavo reported, unable to keep a note of amazement from his voice. Our casualties are minimal. Nera studied the battle statistics with satisfaction. And New Terra. Some infrastructure damage, but nearly all personnel were evacuated in time. June answered from where he stood beside her. During the battle, he had earned the right to stand at the Queen's side, offering suggestions that repeatedly gave them the advantage. The Makorians had no idea they were attacking a mostly empty colony, General Mila added, her earlier hostility toward the human noticeably diminished. Their forces were committed exactly as Captain June predicted. Later, as the generals departed to oversee the pursuit of the remaining enemy ships, Nera found herself alone with June in the war room. Your strategy saved many lives today, she acknowledged, both Valyrian and human. June nodded. It was a combined effort. Your military executed the plan perfectly. Nera studied him with all 4 eyes, seeing him differently than she had before. In all my years as queen, no one has challenged my thinking the way you have. Where I come from, the best leaders surround themselves with people who aren't afraid to offer different perspectives, Jun said. And where I come from, Nera replied, strength has always been measured by domination. She paused, her antennae moving thoughtfully. Perhaps there are other forms of strength I have not fully appreciated. As they stood looking at the battle display, something shifted between them. An understanding that transcended their biological differences. For the first time in her reign, Queen Nera had found a mind that could challenge her own. And for the first time in generations, the Valyrian Empire had won a decisive victory against their oldest enemy. The morning light filtered through the crystalline dome of the Valyrian High Council chamber, casting rainbow patterns across the assembled nobles. Queen Nera sat on her elevated throne, listening as Elder Sora's voice rose in anger. This is unacceptable, the elder roared, his aged exoskeleton clicking, as he gestured toward Captain June, who stood calmly at the side of the chamber. A human cannot be present during the sacred rite of succession. It violates traditions dating back 15 generations. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the council. In the 2 months since the victory over the Makorian fleet, Captain June's influence had grown considerably. The Queen now regularly sought his counsel, a fact that disturbed many traditionalists. Queen Nera's antennae flattened against her head, a sign of growing irritation. Captain June saved 3 of our colonies and helped deliver our greatest victory in decades. He has earned the right to observe our customs. Elder Sora's mandibles clicked rapidly in agitation. Observation is one matter, Your Majesty. But you have granted him access to the royal archives, the war room, and now our most sacred ceremonies. Some might question where your loyalties truly lie. The chamber fell silent. Questioning the Queen's loyalty bordered on treason. Nera rose slowly to her full height, towering over the elder. The guards tensed as she stepped down from her throne and approached Elder Sora. Choose your next words with great care, Elder, she said, her voice dangerously soft. Before Sora could respond, Ambassador Kiri, who had been quiet until now, stepped forward. Perhaps a compromise, Your Majesty. The human could attend the public portions of the ceremony, but withdraw during the sacred rituals. Nera considered this for a moment, then nodded. Acceptable. The matter is settled. As the council dispersed, Captain June approached the Queen. I don't wish to cause disruption in your court, Your Majesty. Their discomfort is not your concern, Nera replied. Come, walk with me. They left the council chamber and entered the royal gardens, where massive carnivorous plants created walls of privacy with their translucent fronds. Palace guards followed at a discreet distance. You seem troubled, June observed after several minutes of silence. Nera's outer eyelids blinked slowly. You have noticed what my own council cannot see. She paused beside a reflecting pool. There is more happening here than simple resistance to your presence. Political maneuvering. The right of succession is traditionally when the Queen announces her chosen mate, Nera explained. Many believe this cycle I will finally select one. There are factions with vested interests. June absorbed this information carefully. I understand why my presence complicates matters. Does it? Nera turned her multifaceted eyes toward him. There's a plot against you, Captain. My enemies believe you have too much influence over me. Do I? June asked, meeting her gaze without flinching. Nera studied him for a long moment. You are the first male of any species who speaks to me as an equal. It is unsettling. Before June could respond, a soft alert chimed from his communication device. Excuse me, Your Majesty. My daily report to Earth is due. Go, she said with a dismissive wave. We will continue this discussion later. That evening, as June recorded his observations in his quarters, he noticed a slight movement in the shadows near his balcony. Years of diplomatic service in dangerous regions had honed his instincts. Without appearing to react, he activated the small defensive measures he had discreetly installed weeks earlier. When 3 Valerian assassins slipped through his balcony entrance, they found themselves caught in a web of nearly invisible filaments, a human technology designed to entangle rather than kill. June quickly disabled the first attacker with a neural stunner hidden in his sleeve. The second assassin broke free and lunged toward him with a ceremonial dagger, but June sidestepped and used the attacker's momentum to send him crashing into a wall. The third assassin managed to slice through June's sleeve, leaving a shallow cut on his arm before succumbing to a precisely aimed stun blast. The commotion brought royal guards rushing to his quarters. Minutes later, Queen Nera herself arrived, her eyes widening at the scene of 3 unconscious Valerian warriors, and June calmly applying a medical seal to his wounded arm. You continue to surprise me, human, she said, mandibles clicking in what June had learned to recognize as amusement. Combat training is standard for Earth diplomats in frontier regions, June explained, though I prefer words to weapons. Nera approached one of the unconscious assassins and turned him over with her foot. Her antennae stiffened in recognition. This one wears the house insignia of War Minister Deco. She turned to her guard captain. Take them to the secure cells. No one speaks of this until I determine who sent them. After the guards had removed the assassins, Nera examined June's quarters with interest. You prepared defenses. You anticipated this attack. I anticipated something, June admitted. The louder the objections to my presence became, the more likely some form of action would follow. Nera's inner eyelids blinked rapidly, a sign of deep thought. You understand our politics better than I realized. Politics are similar across species, June said. Those who have power fear losing it. Those without power seek to gain it. And which are you, Captain? Nera asked, stepping closer to him. One who fears loss or one who seeks gain? Neither, June replied. I seek understanding. The Queen studied him for a long moment. Tomorrow is the right of succession. After tonight's events, your presence will cause even greater controversy. Perhaps I should withdraw, June suggested. No, Nera said firmly. To withdraw now would show weakness. You will attend as planned." She turned to leave but paused at the door. "Captain, do you know what happens when a Valyrian queen chooses a mate?" "I understand it involves ritual combat," Jun replied carefully. "Indeed. The chosen male must prove his worth through trial by combat against royal champions." Her mandibles clicked softly. "It ensures only the strongest genes continue the royal line." "An efficient system," Jun commented. "Perhaps," Nera said. "But in 15 generations, no queen has found a mate who could match her in both mind and strength." She fixed him with all 4 eyes. "Rest well, Captain. Tomorrow will test us both." As the queen departed, Jun looked out at the alien night sky, pondering the complex web of politics, tradition, and unexpected personal connections he found himself entangled in. Whatever happened at tomorrow's ceremony would change the relationship between humans and Valyrians forever, and perhaps change him as well. The grand hall of the Valyrian palace glittered with crystalline light. Thousands of nobles stood in perfect rows, their exoskeletons polished to a high shine. At the far end, Queen Nera's throne sat empty, waiting for her arrival. Captain Jun stood in a place of honor near the front, wearing a formal Earth uniform modified with Valyrian symbols of respect. War Minister Dako glared at the human from across the hall. The failed assassination attempt had been traced to his supporters, though Dako himself had denied any knowledge. The minister's antennae twitched with barely contained fury. "The human stands where Valyrian males of noble birth should stand," he muttered to his allies. "This is the final insult." Elder Sora clicked his mandibles in agreement. "After today, we must act decisively. The queen has lost her way." A horn sounded, silencing all conversation. The massive doors swung open, and Queen Nera entered. Her royal armor gleamed with ancient metals and gems, each piece telling the story of her conquests and achievements. 4 elite guards followed, carrying ceremonial weapons. As tradition dictated, the queen took her place on the throne and surveyed her subjects. When her eyes fell on Jun, she paused slightly longer than protocol required. "Today we gather for the right of succession," she announced, her powerful voice filling the hall without amplification. "For 3 cycles, I have ruled without a mate. The council has expressed concern about the continuation of the royal bloodline." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. This was expected. What wasn't expected was what came next. "Before I address the matter of succession, we face an immediate threat. Our scouts have detected a massive Makorian fleet assembling at the edge of our territory. They seek revenge for their earlier defeat." Screens around the hall activated, showing tactical displays of enemy ships. The room erupted in concerned clicks and whistles. War Minister Dako stepped forward. "Your Majesty, allow me to lead our forces against this threat. I will crush them utterly." Queen Nera's antennae flattened slightly. "Minister Dako, your eagerness is noted. However, given recent events, I question your judgment." Dako's supporters hissed in disapproval. The queen continued. "The Makorian fleet outnumbers ours 3-1. They have adapted their weapons to counter our traditional tactics. Victory requires a new approach." She gestured to Captain Jun, who stepped forward. The move caused outrage among the traditionalists. "This is unacceptable," Elder Sora shouted. "A human cannot direct our military." "Silence," Queen Nera commanded. "Captain Jun will present his analysis." Jun activated a holographic display in the center of the hall. "The Makorians expect us to defend our border stations directly. Instead, we will appear to retreat, drawing them into this nebula." The display showed a swirling gas cloud. "Once inside, we will trigger these dormant pulsar beacons, disrupting their sensors and communications." War Minister Dako laughed harshly. "This is cowards' tactics. Valyrians face their enemies directly and die unnecessarily." Jun asked calmly, "Is that strength?" Before Dako could respond, alarms blared throughout the palace. A royal guard rushed into the hall. "Your Majesty, Makorian forces have breached our outer defenses. Their fleet arrived earlier than predicted. Chaos erupted in the hall. Queen Nera rose from her throne, her voice cutting through the panic. This was their plan all along. They knew of our gathering today. Her eyes narrowed as she looked at War Minister Deko. Someone informed them. Dako backed away. I would never betray our people. Perhaps not intentionally, Jun interjected, but your communications may have been compromised. The palace shook as distant explosions lit up the sky. Queen Nera made her decision. Captain Jun's strategy will be implemented immediately. I will lead the defense fleet personally. She turned to her royal guard. Escort War Minister Deko to secure quarters until we determine the extent of the security breach. As guards moved toward Deko, he drew a hidden weapon. I will not be imprisoned while a human commands our forces. He fired at Jun. The human diplomat dove aside, but the energy blast grazed his shoulder. Palace guards rushed forward, but not before Dako activated something on his wrist device. If I cannot lead our forces to glory, no one will, he snarled. The palace shook more violently. He's disabled the planetary shields, a technician shouted. Jun staggered to his feet, clutching his wounded shoulder. Your Majesty, we need to get you to safety. A queen does not hide while her people are in danger, Nera replied, even as guards surrounded her. Then let me help, Jun said. There's still time to implement the nebula strategy with modifications. Hours later, Queen Nera stood on the bridge of her command ship, watching the tactical display as the battle unfolded. Despite his injury, Captain Jun had coordinated a brilliant response. The Makorian fleet had pursued what they thought was a retreating Valerian force, only to find themselves caught in a carefully orchestrated trap. The final pulsar beacon is activated, reported the tactical officer. Enemy ships are losing guidance systems. Launch Phase 3, Nera commanded. Valerian attack ships swarmed from hidden positions, targeting the disoriented Makorian vessels with devastating precision. On the main screen, enemy ships began to retreat in disarray. We've won, General Tavos said with amazement. Against impossible odds. Queen Nera turned to where Jun sat, monitoring communications. Not yet. Their flagship is breaking through our lines. Its trajectory suggests they're targeting the palace directly. Jun studied the data. They're on a suicide run. They know they've lost the battle but want to assassinate you by destroying the palace. Nera's mandibles clicked in determination. Intercept course. Your Majesty, Jun protested, that puts you directly in their path. I will not abandon my home, she replied. Jun thought quickly. There's another way. His fingers flew over the controls. If we reconfigure our shield harmonizers to project an inverted energy signal here, he pointed to a position ahead of the enemy flagship, we can create a feedback loop in their main drive. The gamble worked. As the Makorian flagship approached the palace, its engine suddenly flared and shut down, leaving it drifting helplessly. When they returned to the palace, the mood had completely changed. The same nobles who had questioned the human's presence now watched with newfound respect as Queen Nera entered the grand hall with Captain Jun at her side. Today we faced extinction, she announced. And today we prevailed through new thinking and new alliances. She turned to face the assembled court. For generations, Valerian queens have sought mates who matched their strength and intellect. Today I realized strength comes in many forms. A hush fell over the crowd as Nera continued. The human alliance has proven its worth beyond question. She turned to Jun. Which is why I now do something no Valerian queen has done before. The queen, ruler of 12 star systems and conqueror of countless enemies, lowered her antennae in a gesture of profound respect. Captain Jun, I ask. Her voice faltered, the word clearly difficult for her to speak. I beg you to accept a formal position as chief advisor to the throne and ambassador between our peoples. The hall erupted in astonished clicks and whistles. No queen had ever begged anything of anyone. Jun bowed deeply. I would be honored, Your Majesty. Later, in the privacy of the royal gardens, Nera's mandibles formed what humans might recognize as a smile. "Was it difficult to beg, Your Majesty?" June asked with a hint of mischief in his eyes. "Excruciating," she admitted. "But as you humans say, sometimes one must bend to avoid breaking." "To new beginnings," June said, raising a glass of valerian nectar in toast. Nera clinked her glass against his. "And to finding strength in unexpected places." As they looked out over the garden, two vastly different beings from distant worlds, they shared a moment of understanding that transcended biology. The stars above them seemed brighter somehow, full of new possibilities for both their peoples.